Hi guys, so in today's video we will discuss how changes in the substitutes or changes in the complements will affect the position of the demand curve. So first let's discuss what are substitutes. Substitutes are goods or services that can be used instead of each other. So substitutes are products that can be used alternative to each other. They can be used as substitute to each other. They can be used instead of each other, such as like we have tea and coffee or jam or butter. So what will happen if there is a change in the price of one product? If there is a change in the price of one product, it will obviously affect the demand or the position of the demand for its substitute. Let's say we have here market for tea and market for coffee. This is the demand curve for tea. So let's say this is market for tea. So the initial price of tea was P naught and Q naught. If the price of tea increases due to anything, if the price of tea increases, the quantity of tea being demanded by the consumers will fall, and this fall in the quantity or these consumers of tea will switch to coffee. Now what will happen to the market of coffee? Because they are alternative, they are substitute to each other, they can be utilized in place of each other. So this is, let's say, market for coffee. Keeping the price of coffee unchanged earlier, Q naught quantity of coffee was consumed. Now, if there is an increase in the price of tea, then the demand for coffee will shift outwards. The demand for coffee will shift out, and those consumers who are leaving the consumption of tea because of higher prices will switch to coffee. So whenever there is a increase in the price of one substitute, the demand for the other substitute will shift outwards, or the demand will increase at the same price. And if there is a fall in the price of one substitute, then the demand for the other one will shift back, or it will shift inwards, and people will switch towards that product. So this has happened when the goods are alternative to each other, when the goods can be used in place of each other. Now let's discuss about the complements. What are complements, guys? What are complementary products? Complements are those goods, complements are those products that are jointly demanded. They are complements are jointly demanded by the consumers, demanded by the consumers, which means that the consumers will be using them together. So they are jointly demanded, jointly consumed, such as tennis balls and tennis rackets, such as cinema movies and popcorn, such as shoes and socks. So these are all the products that are complements, or uh, like cars and petrol. They are also jointly demanded. So now what will happen if there is a change in the price of one product? How will the change in the price of one product will affect the demand curve, or will affect the position of the demand curve for the complement. So let's say this is price quantity. So let's say this is market for cars, and this is the demand curve for cars. And here we have on the right, we have the market for petrol, or the market for fuel. So what will happen now, guys? Let's say this was the price of cars, P naught, and at P naught, Q naught quantity of cars were demanded by the consumers. If there's a fall in the price, if the price of cars goes down, then more cars will be demanded. And when more cars are being demanded by the consumers, obviously the demand for petrol will increase, because now all those consumers who are driving the cars, they need fuel, they need petrol. So what will happen to the demand for petrol? The demand for petrol will shift outwards, and at the same price, more petrol will be demanded. So earlier, let's say the consumers were demanding Q naught quantity of petrol. Now they will be demanding Q1 quantity of petrol. So now what is happening, guys? These are also the prices of complements and the prices of substitutes are also non-price factors. Why? Because we are determining the position of the demand curve for petrol, and the price of petrol is not changing. The price of petrol is constant, its initial at P naught, while what is changing? The price of cars. And due to the change in the price of cars, the demand for petrol is changing. Similar is the situation with substitutes. The Here we are interested in the demand curve, or the position of the demand curve for coffee. Price of coffee is not changing. If there is a change in the price of coffee, it will cause movement along the same demand curve. But movement along the demand curve is happening for tea, because the price of tea is increasing, and when there is an increase in the price of tea, the demand for coffee will shift outwards. So please don't get confused between non-price factors of prices of substitutes and complements, and the change in the price of the product, because here the product that we were studying were coffee and petrol, and the prices of coffee and petrol are constant. The prices of their complements and the substitutes were changing, which led to for increase or outward shift of the demand, or decrease or inward shift of the demand.